At the end of the Napoleonic Wars, the Austrian Empire was the leading great power in Europe. Yet, a century later, when it was time for the First World War, Austria's position had declined massively. Which raises the question, why? Why did the Austrian Empire and later Austria-Hungary decline? So, as of Napoleon's defeat, Austrian leadership was instrumental in deciding what a post-war Europe would look like. And Austria's goal was simple: reset things to how they were before the French Revolution, because this was the world that Austria knew and the one that Austria could succeed in. Of course, this environment wouldn't last, and there were three primary reasons that a century later Austria's position amongst the great powers was greatly diminished. Reason one was nationalism, the idea that polity should be made up of the same people and the lands that they live in. For a multi-ethnic empire like Austria, this was a problem, since it could potentially lead to parts of the empire wanting to break away, and boy did it. After Serbia, Romania and Italy popped into existence, there were outside forces seeking unity with populations ruled by Vienna. And in the middle of this, in 1848, revolutions broke out all across the empire. The German, Hungarian, Italian, Romanian and Bohemian parts of the empire saw revolutions and ethnic violence break out over the course of 2 months. And the Hungarian Revolution required the help of the Russian army to suppress, and it led to the abdication of the emperor in favour of Franz Joseph. To the north, nationalism undermined Austria's relationship with the German-speaking world. Napoleon's abolition of the smaller anachronistic German states, as well as the ending of the Holy Roman Empire, were permanent. And this worked well for Prussia. Austria wanted to keep Saxony and its absolutist ruler independent from Prussia. And so, in return for Saxony not getting gobbled up, Prussia was given all of this, which meant that Prussia was now on its way to becoming an industrial power. However, Austria didn't industrialize at the same pace, and the empire's leadership had little desire to change anything. And why would they? Since, as of 1850, despite the turmoil they'd been through, the Habsburgs were still doing okay. In fact, they were now the mediators of ethnic conflict within the empire. The problem was that internal stability was now linked to foreign events, and Habsburg foreign policy was atrocious. For example, the Austrians alienated their Russian allies when they refused to help them out during the Crimean War. And when combined with military incompetence, this led to Austria losing land to Sardinia, which soon became Italy, as well as losing its influence in Germany after getting soundly beaten by Prussia in 1866. This defeat was so bad that the empire's leaders were forced to refashion the Austrian Empire into the Austro-Hungarian Empire. The plan was that by giving Hungary equal footing with Austria, the Hungarians would remain loyal. But fun fact? No. The splitting of the empire was a major long-term blow to its position as a great power. All across Europe, governments were centralizing, which led to greater levels of economic planning, military coordination, and industrial output. And to make things even more difficult, Hungarian leadership was more than happy to veto and sabotage Viennese plans for reform. Attempts to reform agriculture? No. Trying to increase taxes to pay for military modernization? No. Perhaps the most notable example, though, was when Austrian leadership wanted to join France's side during the Franco-Prussian War. The Hungarians threatened to make life difficult for them, which meant no war. Fearing that the empire was doomed unless it reformed, heir to the throne Franz Ferdinand and friends came up with two possible solutions. Solution one was the United States of Greater Austria. This would see the dual monarchy transform from this to this. Solution number two was turning the dual monarchy into the treble monarchy, in which a new kingdom for Slavs would be carved out of Austria-Hungary and made semi-independent. The problem was that there was no way that Hungary would ever accept these proposals, something Franz Ferdinand acknowledged, and also he was too busy being shot to see them ever proposed. At which point, World War I. And when this happened, Austria's slow beginnings industrializing, combined with Hungarian refusal to reform and modernize, as well as the internal pressures of nationalism and the stresses of World War I, would kill the empire for good.